Welcome everybody. It's your girl, Nicole Banister, aka NIKKI BANZ, and you are back for another episode of NIKKI BANZ Live. Happy Tuesday, everybody. It is my absolute treat and pleasure every single Tuesday to bring you this live series here on Instagram where I am talking to the most incredible, the most talented, the most exciting, the most entertaining people from across the world, whether they're journalists or dancers or actors or authors or activists. I am trying to create a space where we can have global dialogue about the issues that are most important to us, the things that we care about the most every single week here on Instagram Live with each and every single one of you. Welcome one, welcome all. It's your girl, NIKKI BANZ, and this is NIKKI BANZ Live. I could not be more thrilled for our guest today. We have Fatima Al-Banawi coming to us from Saudi Arabia. I think that this is going to be one of the most thought-provoking and perspective-shifting interviews that I have had so far on this show. So I am so excited that all of you are tuning in with me here today. I see everybody joining the chat. Welcome, everyone. I see we have a fellow United Nations Alliance of Civilizations fellow. Clara is in the audience. Hey, Clara, giving you a shout out. I see my mom and dad have tuned in. Hey, parents. And thanks to everyone who is tuning in live right now. Or if you're watching this days, weeks, months later on YouTube when I've uploaded it onto YouTube, we thank you for being here as well. Welcome, everybody. I will give it just a couple more moments for folks to hop on, and then I am going to bring our fantastic guest of the hour, Fatima Al-Banawi, coming to us all the way from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, onto the show. I'm telling you, this is going to be one for the books. All right, I see some people commenting in the chat. Hey, beautiful. Hey, Sadia. The lips. Yes, yes. Well, Fatima always has like incredible makeup. So, you know, I was like, I got to step it up tonight. Thank you, everyone, for all the love. Welcome to NIKKI BANZ Live. I'm your hostess with the mostest, NIKKI BANZ, and every single Tuesday, I am bringing you interviews with some of the most interesting and dynamic people around the world. This week's guest, Fatima Al-Banawi, comes to us from Saudi Arabia, and I'm gonna bring her on in just a moment. Keep the comments coming. Keep sending us the little heart emojis. I see all of you. I appreciate the love. I am so excited to get the show on the road. And like I said, I truly think this is going to be one of the most sort of perspective shifting interviews that I've had so far in the 2 months that I've been hosting NIKKI BANZ Live. All right. I think that's enough talking from me. I want to bring on the woman of the hour, none other than Fatima herself. I'm going to give us a little drum roll, and then I'm going to call her on to the live. This is going to be so exciting. We're going to talk about so many amazing things. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show, because you are here for NIKKI BANZ Live. All right? Gonna bring Fatima on in just a moment. I got the little fan going today, so you know my hair's blowing in the wind. Got that that Beyonce look. All right, invite to Fatima. She should be coming on just now. Yay! Hello, beautiful.
Your energy, woman, it's everywhere.
all the energy. You know, I was watching so many of your former, you know, interviews and stuff that I saw online. I was like, I'm gonna have Fatima smiling the whole time because you're such a serious actress, you know? Like you play these deep, intense roles. And I was like, we're gonna be smiling the whole time. Oh my gosh.
And
it's truly, the honor is all mine. I'm so happy to have you here. And thank you for coming on NIKKI BANZ Live. This is like the most epic reunion, like 4 years after we first met.
I've never done this before. I'm having like anxiety of being live. I'm like, oh God.
Oh my gosh, is this your first live?
I don't do a lot of lives. I mean, I did a couple during COVID lockdown because I felt like everyone was online. But yeah, it's been a while. but it's
Ooh.
online and like, you know, interacting and all that.
Yes, yes. Okay, well, I'm totally honored that that you decided to hop back on the live with me. This is such a treat. And I like to tell people how I know the guests that I bring onto the show. So some of you may know this already. I see a couple of our friends in the chat here. But Fatima and I were both fellows for the United Nations Alliance of Civilizations back in 2017. And so Fatima was part of the MENA cohort representing the Middle East and North Africa. I was part of the UNA cohort representing the EU and North America. And we only overlapped like very briefly in Spain for like 1 or 2 days. But that was enough. That was enough.
Good old days.
The good old days indeed. And I know so much has changed since then. And I have all the questions for you. I'm gonna ask, like, we want to know so many things, and I'm so excited that we've got like so many people tuning in, joining us. Welcome to everybody who's hopping on the live. As a reminder, I'm going to spend the last like 10 or 15 minutes answering questions that you all have for Fatima. So if you're on the live right now on Instagram, there's like a little thought bubble with a little question mark in it. You can click on that and type questions for Fatima, and the last like 10, 15 minutes of the show, we're going to answer all the questions that you have. So please drop those questions in that little, that little thought bubble with the question mark, so we make sure we answer your questions so she doesn't just have to listen to all my questions. Oh, so Fatima, like, how are you? Where in the world are you right now? Are you in Saudi?
Yes, I am finally in Saudi. It's been a while. It's been crazy. I mean, I've been away for 8 months. An unexpected turn of events in a way, but you know, you keep it open and go with the flow and work wherever you are and try to create from there. So I've been, yeah, I mean, I just arrived to Saudi a month ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Home, back to my studio where I create, where, you know, I'm more in control here because you're familiar, it's your space, you've created it yourself, and yeah, I feel more grounded.
I love it. I love to hear that. And for those of you who are on this live who don't know, Fatima Al-Banawi is an internationally acclaimed actress. She is a writer, a director, a storyteller extraordinaire. So for you to be sort of back home where it all started must be really, really special. And I think what would be interesting to hear is kind of, talk to us a little bit about your journey through storytelling and getting into TV and film. How did it start? How did you get to where you are today?
Wow. Okay. So I'm a strong believer in storytelling. Like that's, as an sort of overarching, like, theme for my journey, I must say. And ever since I was young, like I just loved telling stories. I loved hearing stories. I loved feeling and interacting with stories. And I think in the UN, when we were part of the fellowship with the UNAOC, my project was the Other Story project, where I actually was part of, I founded a storytelling platform in Saudi to collect real life stories from the ground and then to recreate them into art productions, performances, video art, and such. And that took place between 2016 and actually just now I'm in the works of publishing my first book. It's a social memoir, but it's based on the Other Story, and it's based on, it actually uncovers a wide selection of the stories that I've gathered from the ground, from the streets of Jeddah. And I think it just like evolved in a way. It was during that time that I started collecting stories, and then I was auditioning for my first feature film as an actress with a film called Barakah Meets Barakah, and that was sort of it was a hit, and I didn't see it coming. I didn't foresee the events that took place afterwards, so I said, why not, like explore that. And I as you can tell, like I love it.
Yes.
Yeah, been there, been doing this for years now.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I want to talk a little bit more about the Other Story project, because what you did is really, really unique. Because I think, especially in a country like Saudi Arabia, the reality is that the stories that we're getting either, you know, across the United States or across the African continent, the narrative that we see about Saudi is really sort of one-sided, right? It's really only government or political things that are happening. It's not necessarily the lived experiences and the real narratives of people on the ground. And
Yeah.
that's what you were able to collect and gather, you know, through the Other Story project. So tell us, you know, in a culture and in a society like Saudi Arabia, was it how was it trying to get people to share stories in a culture that's sort of you know, a bit more private?
Yeah, I think it was a journey because, you know, during that time, 2016, we're very much like a private society, but we're also very much storytellers by nature. You know, Arabian Nights, like, you know, we're storytellers. We do poetry, written and you know, like told poetry, spoken poetry, and all of that. And it's really a great heritage of ours. Like, it's part of, it's integrated within our culture. And what I was trying to do is sort of contemporize what already existed. And that's sort of my method. It's always been to create locally, to create from something that's local and go global with it, or reach global standards with it. And I think at the very beginning, because we were such, like, you know, very private, social media is not taking so much of a big, you know, landscape, with exception to, of course, YouTube, that was breaking records with its viewerships and subscriptions and all of that. But when it came to the personal you, the physical you, not the online you, people were still private. And respect that. I wanted to treat every story piece of truth that was stemming from you or coming from you. And especially that I was really taking people off guard. Like, I had set up like stations to collect stories in little like coffee shops or in companies or in sometimes in a mall. And I'd be like, hey, want to write a story? And everyone's like, oh my God, I don't have a story. I don't have a story. And I'm very, like, you know, been, like, this one time I remember the first stories I've collected was like from 3 medical students. They kept telling stories to one another in a little cafe, and I was sitting next to them. And they kept telling like non-stop stories, you know. And then the moment I approached them and told them I was collecting stories, they were like, no, we don't have any stories. Like, non-stop talking. And so that was how it gradually and organically unfolded. And that's how I think it became really about trust. And I think the way we also maneuver here is the word of mouth. People take it and begin to speak about it, begin to lead others towards you. And so what happened was that I started having people visiting because other people told them that I was there in on Wednesday or on Friday or whatever. And it was getting really exciting, you know. And then with the performances, because storytelling is contagious. So
Yes.
the moment people hear stories, they want to write their own. And that was
Right.
like perfect. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I think, you know, what you mentioned earlier about taking local stories and amplifying them on a global scale. This is a consistent theme throughout all the different projects that you do, all the different productions that you're in. And so we have to talk about Barakah Meets Barakah. You were the first person that I ever knew who had, you know, a show or a movie or anything on Netflix. I remember, you know, going back after the UNAOC fellowship and being like, Mom, Dad, like, I have a friend who's on Netflix. We gotta watch her movie. You know, now I have a couple of ex-boyfriends on Netflix, but you were the original. you were the original. And I think what made Barakah Meets Barakah so unique, I mean, it was groundbreaking for so many different reasons, right? It was like the first film from Saudi Arabia ever to be on Netflix. It was Saudi Arabia's official Oscar submission in 2017, you know, and it was like the second time ever in history that Saudi had submitted a film. and you created a narrative and a story where you were shedding light on the lived experiences of modern dating, modern relationships between young people, but also the Saudi life and the Saudi experience. Again, giving us insight, telling us stories about, you know, the types of people and the day-to-day that we don't normally see, you know, halfway across the world. So what did that film mean to you? What was it like filming? And then, you know, what has it been like since making and putting out this amazing movie?
It's been a big journey. It feels like 20 years, but it's only 6 or something. I mean, it happened so organically and with a group of, I felt like I was part of a family because the writer, director, friend of mine, and we used to always talk film and dream big. And, you know, it was always this utopian dream, trying to reach that, you know, and never really saw it so close to us, you know, or so, you know, doable in a way. So I had just graduated with a master's degree, returned home, and I was planned to go back to New York. I mean, I graduated from Boston, but I was planned to go back to New York, to the US, to continue doing theater, social forms of theater, because I had done theater of the press for years. And when the director approached me, he's like, you know, I know that you did theater for years. And I said, yeah, but like I've done, you know, underground, like social theater, like I'm not an actress, like I only real things, like I just bring around and I like manifest, you know. And he's like, exactly what I want. I'm like, are you sure? Like I didn't go to acting school or whatever. And he's like, it's fine, like let's just create. And so obviously when the festivals started touring, and of course you know, I'm a big film buff with regards to even European films, Arabic, indie genres, like very different. I've watched a lot growing up, and I liked where this was heading, you know, like between, you know, myself and I was like, you know, if this goes well, we could work this piece of puzzle with that, and like could actually go. But I didn't see that I would just become like a full-timer immediately after Barakah, because I was working as a social development consultant, and I, you know, left my job and I said, I just want to create. And back then we didn't have a lot of, you know, scripts. Maybe some scripts existed, but they were still weak. And again, I was always asking myself, do I want to you know, just act anything, or do I want to act something that I really, you know, that I see the story, I want to tell the story. I'm a storyteller before being an actress. Like that's what brought me in. And it unfolded from there, like the audiences, the reactions, it gives you this sort of reinforcement in a way that, oh my God, like their smiles, their tears. And Barakah, I think, was a film that was done by the people for the people. We were filming in like our neighborhoods for the first time, like with big gigantic cameras, like in, you know, I would be scared like to see cousins or friends like driving past us. You're making a film, you guys, and everyone, no way, Jose, would you do this? You know, is it a documentary? And asks, and I'm like, I don't think it's a documentary, but if you take it out of context, like actually, I think the behind the scenes of it was very much documentary material, right? Like the funny being on set, like doing something unprecedented and sort of like unconventional back in time. I mean, now there are so many film sets, and we're going to speak about like now in comparison to then, I'm sure. Because it feels so, it feels like we've taken such a like step, you know, like 5-6 years ago this was unconventional, and now this conversation is lit, and it's just so exciting.
Oh, and I think again, what you're touching on with those comments, even, you know, how quickly social and cultural norms can shift even just in the span of 5 or 6 years. And you've really been a trailblazer, you know, across Saudi Arabia and across the Arab world and the Muslim world. And as a woman in this space, as a woman pioneering, cultural shift, right, through storytelling, through honest narratives of people's lives and people's stories, I can imagine that that's been really exciting, but also quite challenging at times as well. So tell us, like, what are some of the things that are like a little bit challenging about this work that you're doing, and then what are some of the things that are like quite exciting, as you continue to blaze this trail, for women across the Arab world, across the Muslim world, to say, hey, look at Fatima, I can do this too.
Yeah, I think it started off like that. Maybe because, I mean, it started off from even a very, very vulnerable spot for myself. Like, I didn't know whether this was right or wrong. I didn't know whether, I was giving a good example. I wanted to maintain true to myself. I wanted to maintain true to the films I was making, the stories I was telling. That's one thing that I didn't want to let go of. And so tracing back the work that I have done, I feel like these are the stories I want to tell, and maybe more stories I want to tell, but I trust the process, and I trust giving us time, giving our stories time to, not our stories, but our scripts to tell these stories. They need time to mature, to develop, to, for the craft to really, reflect the stories that we really want to tell. And so I can't really be in a hurry. Um, and just tracing those little works that I've done, I feel glad that those stories were, being put in the picture, or that impacted some lives, or even the experiences themselves. Like, they craft us in different ways, because every film set is really a new experience altogether. I always say, in film, like in this industry, and I'm so happy that we're calling it an industry finally. Like, in this, know, not like film number one, like first film, second film, third film. No, like now there are films. Exactly.
Wow.
There's a type of films. I feel like every film of them, or every project, is really a new birth. And it's, you begin with every experience like a blank slate. Like, nothing, because the team is different, the story is different, your character is different. And then in no time, you need to be ready, and you need to deliver, and you need to be true to the characters, to the stories, to the crew, to the cast, to everything, to the audiences. So it's fast speed, especially now. Like, everyone's like, let's make films, but we got to maintain being true also, and give it the pace it needs.
Yes, yes. And I think maintaining that authenticity, it really shines through, and I think that's one of the reasons why, your fans, your friends, everyone is so, attracted to the types of roles that you portray. So we've been talking a little bit about kind of, the original things that kicked you off into the space, into TV, into movies, but you have so many exciting projects that are happening now. And I have to admit, when I was trying to like find some of the shows and things, everything's in Arabic, right? So I was like, I can't read it. I don't know what this is. So I was like going deep. I was like typing in, I was like 60 minutes English. Like, how do I figure out, all these things, which is, I mean, amazing that we're here having this live, and obviously in English, but you're like this incredible actors in Arabic and English. I think you speak French too, like so many different languages. So talk to us about like some of these exciting new TV shows, movies, things we can be expecting from you or from the Saudi cultural scene.
Wow, it's exciting because, like, for the first time, I feel like being back home, I know that other people are on set, like, filming. And it's just really nice that there's not just like one film being, made at a certain time. And it's exciting per se, like that, alone is nice to experience, even if not everything is going to be, up to, best standard or whatever, but it's what we could do, right? And it's, again, like we practice through getting our hands, dirty, and like getting things done, and trying through, or learning through trials, and all of that. The latest, let's see, I think what's on Shahid has subtitles. I need to double check if 60 minutes subtitles or not, but I know my previous work did. So there was one work that's so dear to me. It's like it was a work like that came out of nowhere, really, out of pure um, a sense of grasping on an opportunity and like making the best out of it. And it's called Doubt or Al Shak, and it was out of our COVID experience, our COVID lockdown, like the pandemic, and we basically spent months in Saudi in lockdown, and so we shot an entire series, like a mini series, 10 minutes each episode, 10 episodes from my studio where I'm speaking to you. Actually, like around me is the film set, and it's crazy.
Okay.
Like we had a crew of 5 people. The DIT is the same guy doing the sound, is the same guy is doing like the props. And then like this guy is doing light, camera assisting, like everything. And then I was co-directing, acting, obviously makeup and hair and wardrobe. So, like, you can imagine, like, I don't know, a set of 40 people or 200 people, like minimized and shrunk into like 5 people. All wearing masks. And like, I was so scared for my grandparents, my family. I'm like, keep your masks on, like,
Yes.
Yeah. But then it got amazing reviews, and it was, about a young lady who was living alone during a pandemic, during a lockdown. And it was a production based in Lebanon. So all our work was through Zoom, communicating with the team there and then communicating with the team here. We had living in literally like 10 minutes away from my house, but we couldn't bring them in, so they were shooting from their house, we were shooting from our house.
Oh my gosh,
it was exciting. It was like, and during that time it felt like a case study. Like, a lot of us were depressed, a lot of us were felt like we will never create films again. We don't know when we will be creating films normally, or whatever that means anymore. And then you create, right? And that's the whole point of creation. It's to take opportunities and make something, whatever you have, right?
Yes.
That's your project to me, honestly.
I love this like behind the scenes insight that we all just got on this incredible miniseries, Doubt. Because I think it's that versatility. People see on social media and they see the end product and they're like, wow, it looks so glamorous, it looks so so well done. And that's just such a testament to the sorts of talented, the 5 talented people who you have in the studio with you, right, who are taking on multiple roles. And us out here who aren't in the acting industry, like, we have no idea what goes on behind the scenes. So to get that insight is just like so interesting and so cool.
Yeah, good times. I mean, these experiences, the different ones, they stick around. I mean, every film set has its different energy. My latest is actually Egyptian, so that was my first. Let's say my second technically, but the first one I did in Egypt was I had a guest appearance, so I didn't spend so much time on set. Like, I had 2 episodes I was appearing in, and it was called Paranormal. It's Netflix original, purely Egyptian. And my second latest actually work is 60 Minutes, the one you were trying to look for.
Yeah.
I want to ask, usually Shahid has these subtitled, or at least when they appear, there's a subtitled option and then a non-subtitled option. But I'll need to ask, we want to push subtitles.
Well, honestly, there's like a billion people around the world who speak Arabic, so like, don't need to cater to me.
You watched a lot of growing up, right? Like, and again, like, my grandmother watched a lot of English with Arabic subtitles. So
yes,
if we want to begin, then we need to be international somehow, right? And that's part of subtitling, like people that are experts in like English and translation, or I always tell, like, in the college I graduated from in Jeddah, they have a department, English and languages and translation. And I always tell them, like, make use of the new, booming industry, the cinema industry, because it would open up new fields that you would have never thought of like only 6 years ago. You know,
Absolutely.
titles, good and strong and meaningful subtitles that take context and not literal translations. We really need,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. No, we do need those. We do need those. And even throughout my travels around the world, going into new places, I'll learn a phrase and I'll be like, what does this mean? And I'm like, don't tell me literal, like word for word what it means. Tell me like what it means in context, right? Like that cross-cultural communication.
Yes.
Um, so I want to ask a little bit more about 60 Minutes because it seems like it seems like it's quite an intense character for you. And it's a thriller series. You know, the two sentences I read in English, right? It's a thriller series about, you know, a woman who's going through these like psychological crises. So talk to us a little more about like, you know, about the character and how you got into character and how you prepared for this role.
Oh my God. uh, that was a heavy one. I mean, this character, I mean, it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of Sarah, you know, and just to empathize with her, not only empathize with her, but to like try to be her and you know, embrace every element, and even the way she doesn't speak, like that's totally against what I stand for. When you're bothered, like, you know, for me, talking is like what I do as a form of healing, as a form of communication, as a form of intraculture. Like this is what I do. Like talk.
Yes, yes.
Sarah is like the exact opposite because she's afraid.
Mm.
She's afraid of stigma. She's afraid of stereotypes. She's afraid of being blamed, being cornered. And this one time, you know, she has a very normal condition. She has a postpartum depression. She gets a child and she experiences that. And obviously, there are so many symptoms for this condition, right? Medically. But this condition is actually one of the most commonly known to be not diagnosed.
Mm.
Doctors or even, you know, in hospitals, they give more attention to prenatal, like before you give birth, like during the 9 months, and then they give attention to the birth. What happens after the birth is like flowers and balloons, and like no one really gives attention to like sleepless nights, you know, anxiety, being a first time mother. I mean, bringing a human into life and being the full on control of this person, or, you know, being responsible for this person. So Sarah goes through these usual, I would say, experiences, and she struggles because no one empathizes with her. No one recognizes what she was going through, and it's always against what she's going through. So no one
Mm.
experience and takes it in until she decides to go to a therapist. Actually, not a therapist, a psychiatrist.
Okay, okay.
And the psychiatrist takes it further and actually commits a crime against her
Oh,
during her therapy or her experience.
oh
And
gosh.
only adds more layers into her disruption and her wanting to escape life and wanting to surrender and all of that. And just imagine what happens from the pure or the mere, you know, move of not recognizing someone's pain. How it could escalate, and like not only not recognizing the pain, but actually abusing their weakness or their vulnerability or
Right.
their loneliness. Yeah. And you know, of course, you know, I'm spoiling obviously because tomorrow is actually the release of the ninth episode and the last. Um, so excited. Um, and you know, shooting or working with this character was really challenging. I was also in a country alone, first time fully on set with a completely different style of shooting because, again, as I say, it was Egyptian, so the crew is fully, you know, different than my usual in Saudi, the one I'm familiar with. Um, and I had to sort of, you know, work around that. Again, working with the challenges, putting myself in position to not sort of lose myself. Like I wanna state what I myself. I wanna be,
Yeah.
but again, I don't wanna sound like, you know, I'm a diva, or I don't wanna show as being extra. Or, you know, there's so many things that you, it's like you're a first grader, you know, you're like working and sensing the energy, the pace. But Sarah really was around with me for quite a while. One thing I make sure to do is to unplug. You know, by the moment I finish, you know, a character, finish shooting, I'm offset, I'm done. I do little changes to myself. You know, I go back to Fatima,
Mm.
like a mani pedi, or like to the mall, or or going for a hair dye or a haircut. Or, you know, I cut my hair, and so just trying to change because I need something also physical to, you know.
Yes, that is so, so interesting. And I think, well, that's, you know, one of the reasons why I asked the question around getting into this character and other characters that you've had that are, you know, really have these, you know, intense storylines and these deep emotions that come with them. Because I can imagine as an actress, you know, you put your everything, your heart and your soul into it. And then you have to, you know, you have to come back, you know, and go
Yeah.
back to Fatima, just like you said. And I think like it's just been really, really amazing to see you shine in all of these different shows and movies. But not only that, you've also had some very cool collaborations and partnerships recently with some big brands, you know, around the world. So talk to us a little bit about some of these really cool sponsorships and partnerships that you have going on, and sort of how you're leveraging those partnerships with these big global brands to really shine light on you know the Muslim woman's experience, to shine light on Saudi Arabia. I think we'd love to hear a little bit more about kind of how you're using this massive platform that you have now to make these changes on a global scale.
Okay. Yeah. So last year, actually this year, beginning this year, we did this amazing collaboration with Cartier. Of course, the, you know, very famous jewelry brand, and I became, you know, part of their family as the Middle East ambassador.
Oh,
And it's, yeah,
it's so
it's
cool.
amazing to, you know, my first trip with them was to Lake Como. They were releasing, wow, that was just a marvelous experience. They were releasing a collection called The Sixth Sense. And the details put into that craft, the time put into it, the workshops and the details put into the setup of the workshops, the type of chair that the, you know, the craftsmen or the craftswomen sit on for the longest hours of a day to work on every piece of jewelry, is, you know, like mind blowing. I mean,
Wow.
it's everything, right? Because they work on pieces for years, like one piece an entire year, and it was so humbling to witness that, to see the dimensions, the work, the themes and the concepts that go behind every piece, and how they speak volumes. And one thing I adore, honestly, is vintage. Like I'm like I love everything vintage,
Okay.
and to the extent that now, like some items I had from high school, I'm calling them vintage. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is.
yeah.
I'm like, what? I'm like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
We can categorize it as vintage.
It is. It is. It's 10 years old. It's 15 years old. It's definitely vintage.
So, you know, feel like you own more vintage than you do. But it feels great. And again, like there's this whole story about Cartier following owners of their pieces years and years, apart. And so they actually trace every piece, who it was gifted to, who owns it, where it traveled, what country. And I feel like that dimension of their experience was another level. Like, honestly, it was just really, really, really just beautiful to witness, and to see in your, in front of you in the making, the way they keep records, the way they follow. And it's just really nice. And I'm hoping to do more, work together, like collaborations, campaigns. Again, also with regards to film. So open up an entire different array of, of work and film by integrating your who you're working with during that period of time.
Beautiful, beautiful. That is so cool. Congratulations. I remember when I saw that, when I saw that happening on your Instagram, I was like, there's just nobody better that I could even imagine or fathom to be the Middle East ambassador for Cartier than you, and it goes along with your style and your essence and the way you move through the world. And it's just so cool. And I know more collaborations, more partnerships are coming with them and with all sorts of other awesome brands. So we have about 20 minutes left on the live. So I have one final question for you. And for everybody tuning in here, remember, I'm going to save the last 10, 15 minutes for Fatima to answer your questions. So if you're here on the live with us right now, there's that little sort of bubble at the bottom with the question mark in it. You can click on that and type in questions. I see we already have a couple of questions in there. So we're going to get to those in just a moment. So if you have any questions for Fatima, you can put them in there. We will answer your questions. But I think my last question for you, Fatima, when I think about my networks in the United States or here in South Africa or across the African continent, you are probably the first and only person that any of them know from Saudi Arabia. Okay. And so my question for you is, as someone who is, born and bred in Saudi, a woman coming from Saudi Arabia, when we think about Saudi Arabia, for everyone who's watching this live or watching on YouTube, what do you want people to walk away knowing about Saudi? And then what do you want people to walk away knowing about women in Saudi Arabia?
Well, I want people to know that I always refer to this. It's more difficult to experience or to be part of a place or a thing or a condition that is misrepresented than to be underrepresented. And I think our experience in Saudi growing up, and I say it with complete transparency, whenever I travel, whether I was the first Saudi people met or the second or the third or the 20th, there is always this established idea and a condition in which they think is it. And I'm like, have you been to Saudi? No. And so have you read about Saudi? No. Have you watched films from Saudi? No. So again, I couldn't blame them, because we were, again, as I go back to the first question we had, we were such private people. Like, we didn't share much. We also didn't have tourism, internationally speaking, like from an international audience to come and to witness it and to travel around it. We didn't have that. So I didn't feel that I was, again, in a position to blame or to feel like they were experiencing a shortcoming in a certain sort of exercise or research. But it was really challenging being misrepresented than being underrepresented. I feel like, some people, if they're unknown, it's best, because then you can tell what people don't know.
Yeah.
And change, it's like you feel like you're re-educating, or you're educating again, or it's like another form of education or information, where nowadays we have books, we have YouTube, we have Netflix, we have Shahid, we have big platforms that are gigantic, possibilities for research, for face-to-face encounters with international borders, Saudi borders open for international tourism now. Of course, COVID sort of restricted that because of, what a lot of people or a lot of countries have experienced. However, it's shifting. And I'm so happy and so honored and so glad that I'm, not only, just witnessing this or hearing about it, but being a shaker to this change and welcoming people. My mom is a scuba diver instructor, and she takes people and delegations from the UK to the States to experience the Red Sea. And honestly speaking, it's the best water. It's so warm. And yes, I'm a big marketeer to the Red Sea. I, by the way, you know that, right?
What about Cape Town?
With my mom and my sister, we went diving in Cape Town.
Oh, well, I'm sure that you very quickly realized that the Atlantic Ocean is freezing.
It's freezing. It's freezing. So we went diving with sharks, and I don't even remember the sharks because I remember I was just freezing. And the instructors over there kept telling us, man, it's nothing like the Red Sea. And I'm like, I know.
Oh my gosh, I know. Literally, the second you just said your mom was a scuba diving instructor in the Red Sea, I know all of my Cape Town people are like looking up flights to Saudi right now because they're ready. We have such a big diving culture.
So, hiking and mountain climbing, and Saudi is so big. It's a big country, and it's untapped. So there are Virgin Islands, and there are areas that are just, it's like, remember those Microsoft desktops? We always said, oh my God, they're probably like further away from where we live. And then suddenly even Saudis are visiting them, and they're like an hour away or like 2 hours away. And it's just so beautiful to be a witness of that, to create trips to visit your own country. And one other thing I would, very much market for, since we're speaking cinema and film as a way to also get to know other cultures and people. I think Netflix and Shahid have a very wide variety of Saudi films now being on their platforms. Yeah. And then we have the Red Sea Film Festival happening in December. And it's the first international film festival taking place in Saudi. I have my films being part of that, premiering for the first time. And it's just so beautiful because, usually we made films and then toured with them in international festivals, but it's amazing and it's a whole new experience to make your film and then premiere it in where it was made.
Oh.
At the level of, hype for everything.
Yes. And I love that you are such an ambassador for women, for Saudi, but also for the cultural scene. Arts and culture are so critical, so important. We realized that tenfold during the pandemic when a lot of our normal outlets for arts and culture were taken away, right? Where everyone was just kind of at home trying to look at their computer screens. We couldn't go to live shows. We couldn't go to the cinema. And I think like just hearing, from you about the cultural scene and that, and the explosion that's really happening across Saudi, I think it's really inspiring, and we appreciate your transparency. And I think we're all trying to like buy tickets to come to the film festival now and watch your movie premiere. I love it. Okay, we have about 10 minutes left here on NIKKI BANZ Live. So I want to get to your questions. You, the audience, the people who have tuned in here. Fatima, you've had a huge crowd tonight. Like I've seen as many as 80 people on this live here with us. It's just incredible. So I'm going to click on the little question box now and ask you some questions from the people. So thank you to all of you who have asked questions. The first one from Yusra Noelati says, what do you think the future holds for women in Saudi Arabia? What industries may we soon start seeing women add their touches to?
I think women are doing everything. They're an integral part to everything, whether see, it's a very smart thing about women. They don't care to be seen. They don't really, they're really creators from behind. And that's the thing about a Saudi woman, is that women have always been leaders inside their households, in their, they took charge. They were, you know, some of the biggest Saudi family businesses were led by women, the
Wow.
daughters, founders. But you know, as long as the work is sustainable and efficient and you know, passion driven, I think women are happy with that. So I believe that there is more room to manifest and to show them, to show those work, these, you know, the work of these women, and also women behind the scenes. But I think women are very strong and they're very resilient,
Yes.
shy to speak, even if speaking for them is not by words, but by action. And I think that's more powerful, to create, not necessarily through words.
Wow. Wow. I hope all of y'all who are tuning into this live are taking notes here. We've got Fatima spitting bars for us about the role of women in society and how powerful and incredible that they are. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, loved that question. Let me see. Another question here. Okay. So there's a question here from my friend Amani from Sudan. She's asking, you know, how do you feel creating content for or in a country that can be so restrictive of creativity and content? So, you know, for example, the ban on movies and cinemas and things like that. The question is, do you think the barriers in Saudi can really be opened enough to allow for more freedom and more content, especially in regards to sort of like the roles that women can play in the content that's released and produced?
Okay. There's little segments there. So I think one big important thing is that Saudi content creators have been leading in the YouTube scene, especially, and TikTok and Snapchat. But let me say YouTube since 2009, and it broke records with being the top content creation platform in the Middle East. And in some cases, I need to review this research sort of statistics, I think, in the world. This was in 2010 and 2011, and they were really leaders in not only content creation, but also in viewership and subscriptions. So it's not new for us. Now, one thing about Saudis and Saudi youth is that we don't mind limitations, because that enables creation. Some experience I was talking about with creating an entire series during a lockdown. Like I researched the number of series or films or, you know, things that were taking place during lockdown, a full lockdown in a country where you can't even leave your house. I think there were, what I found was one film in the States, and another Netflix series that's an anthology created by different directors, but what was sort of like a little short films. It's a series, but like little short films made into one whole sort of you know, program on Netflix, and it's amazing, created by Arabs as well. Actually, Arabs and non-Arabs, like filmmakers, and the experience of limitation itself made us create, made us that was not being told, and made us connect to audiences that were also in lockdown. And I think for me, even from a very young age, even when I entered cinema as a platform, I entered it because it was a way to create through limitations, to protagonists that otherwise will not exist, or that otherwise will be very far from you. And I think it empowers us. Honestly, I mean, it makes us unique. It makes our content unique. It makes our jokes very you know, double-edged in a way, and sort of like dark comedy is our game, because we can make jokes that have several meanings, right?
Right,
And
right.
it's the, that's drama, that's creating arcs, that's creating, like, you know, something unexpected, like a shift of tone. And I think nowadays, a lot of the content that's being created is written by women. I think women are taking more involvement into that, even if, and I say it after also out of complete, honesty and transparency, it is difficult to be a filmmaker in an industry. But this is not specific to Saudi. This is international. This is everywhere. So again, I like to say things that are specific to Saudi, and then also revise myself and my expectations from my country to say, you know what? A lot of industries are very difficult to work with and to maneuver as a woman, even international. Being objectified as a woman, as an actress. We're hearing so many experiences by women that said, you know what? Our portrayal in cinema was complete, like not reflective to who I wish to be, represented by. And one thing I'm not shying away as an actress, let's say as a screenwriter and a director, I have more charge. But like as an actress, I'm not shying away from speaking, from saying, I'm sorry, but can we develop this character because I feel like she's a Barbie? Like, like I'm saying that to screenwriters. I'm saying, listen, I love this project. And when I say that, it really means that I love it. And I want to be part of it. But if I don't say it, it means that I have no interest. And I do, because my passion is for storytelling. So we need to pinpoint these as women, these snippets of like, but why is the secondary character very like secondary and like she's trivial and she has no arc? She changes. You know what I mean? There's so many, like, this is my passion. This is what I know. Like on point.
I can see the passion oozing through the screen right now. And I love the reminder, Fatima, that number one, it's difficult for women in industries all over the world, not just in your country, but also the reminder that having limitations and having restrictions breeds creativity. And I think you're absolutely right. And we globally saw that through the pandemic. And I think a lot of people can resonate with what you're saying from their different country contexts when there are limits on different things. And I think that's so important to remember. Okay, I'm watching the time slowly tick away to the hour mark. I want to ask like maybe one or two more questions from all of the people. So there's someone, Sleep in Honey, is asking, what is your dream, Fatima?
Wow, I don't know. I would like to manifest my dream in my mind. I always say, like, it's so hard for me to speak these, in big words, because it's, I feel like my dream is a process, it's part of my dream is every day is living this moment and being present with you and reconnecting. And part of my dream is creating, is reaching, is, I don't know. I can't limit. It's just so big, and you'll see it in my work. I hope that my work continues to manifest snippets of my dream, and you get by it all whenever it concludes that was my dream, or that was my attempt to reach my dream, at least.
Yes. Well, we are all watching your dreams unfold in front of our eyes, and we are supporting you all the way, Fatima. So I guess the very, very, very last question that I'll just ask, and I saw someone had asked this in the chat as well, since we're right about at time, and I know it's late for you, don't want to keep too much of your time, but I guess the last thing is just, what are some of the things, whether they're projects or festivals or things that you're working on, what are the things that we as your fans should be keeping an eye on? What's coming up next, so that we can, be following and waiting for new things of yours to release?
Okay, so I have 2 films coming out. One, I think both probably in December. And then I'll be on set filming a new film, hopefully by the end of the year, or maybe in January, being on set to shoot that. I'm directing my own feature film, my first feature film. So wow. I'm preparing for that. I'm in a little soft pre-production now, and hopefully entering pre-production soon. What else? And obviously my book that I spoke about.
Yes.
Yeah, once it's out, I'll spread the news.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. So keep an eye out, everyone.
Film festival,
Yes, the
which
film.
is taking place in Jeddah, my city.
Okay, the film festival happening in Jeddah, the upcoming book compilation of all the incredible stories that Fatima has collected over the years, the movies. It's just all so exciting, Fatima. And for me, to have met you so many years ago, shout out to the United Nations Alliance of Civilizations for bringing us together. And when I reflect back on that entire fellowship experience, it was all about intercultural dialogue, interfaith dialogue, and this is literally what we're doing here right now on NIKKI BANZ Live, and it's just been such an honor to talk to you tonight, to reconnect in this way, and to just be a part of your journey and your experience. So thank you, Fatima.
Thank you so much for reaching out, for reconnecting, and for holding this space to communicate, to share with the people what amazing things everyone around the world has been doing. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Or should I say, shukran, afwan. That's all I got. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Fatima. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in to this Tuesday's episode of NIKKI BANZ Live. We're back every single Tuesday with amazing guests. Fatima, you are an absolute all-star. And thank you for being here tonight. And I'll talk to you again soon.
Yes, very. Thank you so much. Care.
All right. Bye.